The following program was provided by an independent producer solely responsible for its content. The opinions expressed do not necessarily represent the views of this station, its staff, board of directors, or underwriters.
Don't adjust your screen. There is nothing wrong. You're about to enter a world where the very concept of time is rendered obsolete by the sheer power of entertainment. You're about to enter the Boggis Hour. Of the Boggis Hour, Greg Boggis!
Hey everybody, welcome to this episode of the Boggis Hour. My guest for the entire time is a comedian, a writer, an actor, a musician, and a basketball player. He is Chance Langton.
Remember the first time I fell in love? I fell in love with Shirley Temple. I saw her on TV. I was 5. She was 5. I met her at a mall when I was 6. She was 50. Things aren't always what they seem to be.
Well, here I am with comedian, writer, actor, musician, basketball player, Chance Langton.
Good to see you, Greg. How are you?
Welcome to the Boggis Hour.
I'm very, very happy to be here. I really am.
I'm very glad you came. You're one of the founding fathers of the Boston comedy scene. You were around when it was almost nothing, and then became an incredible place, an incredible breeding ground for great comics.
Yeah,
you were there.
It was fantastic. Although I haven't aged well. I'm 30.
So before you started comedy, you were a student and you have a connection to New Hampshire. Is that correct?
Yeah, I played baseball at the University of New Hampshire, UNH. People called us. Yeah, I was a bit of a musician since I was 11, and I knew I wanted to be a songwriter. That's really what I was gearing to. And then I lived on the West Coast, about 23 years old, and was doing pretty good musically. But I had kind of a zaniness about me, and I went to the Comedy Store. It was 1975, and one night I walked in, and like I could have cared less. Like comedy had not even entered my mind, and I had a lot of stage experience. So when I went up, there wasn't a nerve in my body, and because the comedy crowd, unbeknownst to me, was pretty much psyched into seeing comedy. And so right off the bat, she made me a regular at the Comedy Store. And first gig, Mitzi Shore, mother of Pauly Shore.
Correct.
And the first gig I did there, Jay Leno was the host.
Oh, wow.
And David Letterman was on later in the night. And I was going on right after him, and he cleared the crowd, and I was ticked off. You know, I was actually saying, "You jerk!" You know, he had not found his voice yet. You know, so it was kind of funny. And
wow.
And I was really ticked off at him. You know, but it was pretty wild. But I ran into him at another gig, and I go, "How you doing?" "Not bad." And he goes, "What are you doing?" I go, "I'm sleeping in my car." He goes, "No, you're sleeping in the car." "Yes, I am." "Well, you know, I live with my wife. We have a nice house. If you want to stay there." "Ah, that's all right." No, I want you to stay there." I didn't follow it through. So I kept sleeping in my car. You know, I was more of the romantic, on-the-road guy, you know, and it was kind of a lot of fun. I met, actually drove Tom Waits to a gig once down there, and I didn't know who he was, and his road manager dug me as a musician, you know. And so I drove him to the University of California at Irvine. But I had my grandfather's '68 Satellite, and he was totally blown away that I had this older car to
Vintage.
to go on the road, and then he performed, and it was spectacular. I couldn't believe it. Yeah, you could hear a pin drop.
He's still performing these to this day.
He was a standout that I saw. He was one of the best I had seen. But then I came back to Boston, and I got married, and then I had a child. I was doing like a lounge gig just to make ends meet, But I was goofing around while I was doing it, and then suddenly there was an explosion in 1978 in the comedy scene. But it was difficult because they were paying like $10 a set at the Comedy Connection. And I'm going to myself, $10 a set? It didn't make sense to me. Making money as a musician, a lot of money, but $100 a crack, and they want you to work for $10 a night. Didn't make sense. So what I did is I went out and started booking my own shows because I thought that would be kind of knew what I was doing. But it had its drawbacks. I was making a pretty good living. But when you book shows, number one, other people who are booking shows, you're an enemy right then and there. I was unaware of that, or unbeknownst to that. I thought that maybe,
We're all on the same team here. No.
Yeah, no, you're not. So there was a drawback. And then the comedians, there was some very nice guys, but then there was some very neurotic guys. And I felt that generally, to some of them, I was the enemy to them. It was a weird thing that I did not really grasp until time went on, and it had its pluses and its minuses,
Right.
So, but it was that interesting, right? And there were a lot of great comedians here. I do believe that Boston was the best comedy scene historically, right across the country, because there was something about us, Greg. Everybody wanted to be different from one another, and there was an interesting energy. It just happened to happen. Barry Crimmins was the guy at the Ding Ho, and I was the first headliner at the Ding Ho.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and I brought Stephen Wright to the Ding Ho.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, it's never been made public for some reason, Jimmy Tingle was the bartender.
Right.
And Stephen Wright, me, Teddy Bergeron was great. There were so many great guys.
King. Teddy Bergeron.
Yeah. He was great. Paula Poundstone, Bob Goldthwait. A lot of people emerged. Jim Morris, Joe Lasky was a great impressionist.
As was Jim Morris, right? Jim Morris did
Jim
Ronald
Morris
Reagan,
was doing
right?
political Ronald Reagan, impressions of political figures,
Right.
And a lot of great guys. And then there was an energy there.
You're right about too that you just talk about a really wide variety of performers and not a lot of I think the mid to late 80s seemed to fall into more of a cookie cutter thing, nationally, but certainly that group of just talk about a diverse chunk of comedians, everything from Paula Poundstone to Barry Crimmins to
completely different. Barry in those days was more of a observational humorist. He had not
become a satire
morphed into this sort of bluesy and angry political comedian. Very interesting because Jimmy Tingle, on the other hand, was upbeat, and he hadn't really gone towards political comedy either. But when they emerged, Jimmy was more the exuberant people person, and Barry was more like, this is the blues and this is cynicism and more serious than Jimmy seemed to be,
Remember there was a governor from Delaware that was running for president in it was either 84 or 88. And I remember Barry Crimmins saying, who would vote for a guy, his name was Reuben Askew. And he said, who would vote for a guy whose name sounds like a sandwich on a stick?
Yeah. He was good at coming up with that stuff, but it was really cool.
So moving to the 80s, and the comedy scene is taken off. And so I remember seeing you at the Amherst Country Club, which was one of the great rooms.
Yeah, that was great. Yep.
Yeah. And, again, with all of those, Dana Gould, Kevin Knox.
It's endless.
It is
endless. It's just astonishing.
Right.
when you name all the
Diane
guys.
Ford, Jimmy Smith. I mean, just endless.
Endless. And then there was like a second wave of comedians, like at Catch a Rising Star in Cambridge, which Robin Hood, who did the Amherst Country Club. So there was Wendy Liebman, Brian Kiley, Louis C.K.
Oh, right.
Trying to think of some of the other. Well, Janine Garofalo was there, and
Right.
David Cross was there. So it was like I say, this Brian Kiley, incredible energy of a new wave that was also more or less individual.
Sure, unique. And,
talents.
again, all of those.
It was really cool.
Yeah, Wendy Liebman and Brian Kiley are two that are really, really outstanding. I mean, they're all great, but there's some people that, and I just always remember working with Brian Kiley, how much of a nice guy he was, but how funny and just how quick, sharp his wit was. It was just really outstanding.
He was really probably the nicest guy I'd met. There were some not so very nice guys, to be honest. Maybe you've experienced, I don't know, but.
Everybody's a dream.
Yeah, they make it like there was this, sort of, everybody was pulling for each other, but some were and some weren't.
Sure.
Yeah,
there's a certain, I don't want to call it necessarily ruthlessness, but there is a certain, amount of kind of adversarialness that comes into showbiz, and there are some people that adopt if this person is succeeding, that means they're taking my spot, as opposed to.
Yeah, well, some people act like you're their best friend, and they're not your best friend. I've seen that. I won't get into detail, but the names rhyme with normally. I'll give you a perfect example. Like at 1983, I got a gig because I was going to New York and doing pretty good down there, but I was coming back and forth, married, baby, all that stuff. And I opened for Rodney Dangerfield of Providence. Wow. And I brought a guy with me to the gig, and when I got off, I noticed he wasn't happy that I opened for Rodney Dangerfield. I realized it was almost like I was in denial. But when I walked into the ding hall after the gig, it's like I walked into a funeral. Nobody said nice go and this or that. It was like interesting. But again, it didn't occur to me. I was in denial of that aspect. But it did exist. But the main thing is, if you have the talent and you emerge, God bless you. Congratulations. I felt that when Stephen Wright scored, I was as happy as could be, but I could see there was an undercurrent of jealousy. Honest to God. I know it's hard to believe. And he was one of the nicest guys.
Right. And to this day, just a really, really down-to-earth, pleasant, friendly,
and a wonderful guy.
And funny, and just as funny as they
extraordinarily funny. And I think when I look back, I still think that he was the best, I mean, I saw a clip, he scored so big, but I saw a clip, somebody put him on YouTube, the best comedians, and that was showing great guys. And it was funny with Stephen Wright, they kept editing clips, like one joke, then somebody else doing it, then one joke, and I said to myself, he was better than all these guys.
Right.
I mean, when he came out, they said he was the next Robin Williams in terms of a big, response,
Sure.
which kind of had an electrifying ripple effect, So I thought, just so many great guys. I mean,
Sure.
I'm leaving people out, but it's just endless.
How was it working with Rodney, the legend?
Rodney it was exciting, because, we did about 6 concerts together.
Wow.
And
he'd like to have a guitar guy with him?
That's exactly
And it's
what
funny
it
because
was.
I think George Carlin, too, right, had a...
Yeah, well, the guy that was opening for George Carlin was opening for Rodney Dangerfield. And it was a big break for him. And I think what happened was they had a falling out. And I filled in, here and there, because he liked to have a musical comedian open for him. But he was a nice guy. And off the stage, he was not that wild and,
Right.
Eyes bobbling and neck going back and forth. He was somewhat serious, and he was nice. He was a nice guy, The funniest thing was, we'd be at the hotel at the gig, and he would walk through the corridors wearing a white bathrobe. We got in a limo. He's still in a white bathrobe. I'm in my Speedo. I'm like, I'm in my, similar clothes. Then we get to the show, and he wore that bathrobe behind, in, the guest room.
Oh, that's hysterical.
Or in the green room. And then 5 minutes before he went on stage, he came out, the suit, the tie, and he's coming out superstar. The crowd is going absolutely crazy from beginning to end.
Right.
And then he splits, and back into the white bathrobe. In his, in the green room.
That's his casual attire.
I have a picture. I don't know if I ever sent it to you, but
I don't think I
think it's on the website.
Oh, okay.
Chancelangton.org. Yeah, and there is a picture of him there. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah. Whenever I think of Rodney, I always think of him from his line from Caddyshack. Hey, we're all getting laid.
Yeah, well, that made him a superstar. He stole a movie, and
and the cast that he was in that with, like Chevy Chase and Bill Murray and
Ted Knight.
Ted Knight. I mean, talk about comedy talent, but boy, was he!
Yeah,
did he stand out?
That was it. And you know what? He made Back to School, and I know this that he made a deal and he got 50% of the movie.
Wow.
And I was in his business partner's office, his name was Tony, and he's looking at Billboard, and I was playing there at the Dangerfield Club, and he's speechless, right? And I go, Tony, what's up? And he's kind of like laughing, and he's in disbelief. He was in disbelief because he realized Rodney just made $100 million for Back to School, and he was speechless.
Wow.
I mean, I was there uncomfortably for 3 minutes, waiting and waiting.
Right.
And then he told me what happened. So that was hysterical.
Well, I understand that Alec Guinness actually, instead of taking a flat fee for Star Wars, got a percent.
The guy who made
that's some money.
the King's Speech, right?
Oh, right.
The two actors, can't remember the names.
Oh, Colin Firth, is it?
Colin Firth and Jeffrey Holder, is that his name?
I think so, yes.
Yeah, they got, the director, they took a third and they made $150 million apiece. That's the crazy thing about this business, if you hit with something, bang, it goes out of the park,
So you were in a couple of films.
I was in Adam Sandler's 8 Crazy Nights.
New Hampshire's
Manchester's Own.
Yeah.
And I sang, it was an animated cartoon musical.
Right.
And out of the blue, they called me, out of the blue. And I didn't know Adam was a fan of mine, but turned out that he was, And so I sang on a track with him, Adam, Lainie Kazan, and Alison Krauss.
Wow.
And so there I was, and they did like a likeness of me when the song was sung, animated likeness of me. And then, so here it is. Again, that's on my website, chancelangton.com. Yeah, so that was cool. And House Party 2 I was in, and that was an interesting experience. Complex World was kind of an underground film, but that pretty good too.
Yes.
But it's funny, when you go to be an actor in a movie, it's not necessarily your passion or dream. It's more like your ego. And a perfect example of that is Elvis Presley. Here he is, this great rock and roll star. He wanted to be a movie star. And every movie was the same and took him further and further removed to what his true greatness was, I think. So,
sure.
And I feel the same way about myself in a way. My real passion, after all these years, I realized was being a songwriter. And writing songs, I kind of drifted back into that sort of thing as of late because the comedy scene, my act is very clean, as you know, as yours is, And a play in that atmosphere where everybody's F-bombing left and right doesn't work for me, you know. So, in fact, that's why I like booking shows way back in the day, because nobody seemed to know how to book a show with chemistry outside of the Ding Ho, which was a unique place. Robin Hood was very cognizant of that thing, but I think along the way, I'd say most shows, I'm very surprised that the chemistry is just not there. You experience that yourself?
A lot of people don't quite gather that there's, you know, there should be like almost like a glide path to how the show goes.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes, you know, that unless you know people and how they perform, a lot of times you end up with this really rocky kind of presentation as opposed to the, you know, a nice production. And people have a tough time, you know, realizing that you probably don't want to put, you know, 2 prop acts or 3 impressionists on the same show.
Yep.
Or somebody whose energy is a peer, and then your headliner whose energy is significantly lower. You know, obviously there's difference in skills.
I did a gig, I won't say the guy and I won't say where it was, but this past year, and before I went on stage, he did, in a 10-minute spot, he did 26 F-bombs. I was counting, you know. It was bad news. So that's why I like getting back to the singer-songwriter thing. And I thought it was interesting that Bob Dylan got the Nobel Prize for literature. Can you imagine that, you know? So they actually hired him to sing a song about a hurricane. And it went sort of like this. Hurricane Matthew made a call. Hard rain, it had to fall. Something like that, you know. I met him once, you know, he called me a complete jerk. And, but I put it on my resume. That was pretty cool, you know.
So I think that we're actually going to have you do a song.
Close
out the show.
First of all, just to get a little bit warmed up, when I meet a nice woman, I sing to her, I sing. All I am saying is give chance of peace. Yeah, this is really stupid. This absolute fox asked me how to get to AA, and I said, how do you spell it? You know, stupid things like that. But I actually, these are jokes that I missed. Jokes that I missed right here. My mother was half Polish. My father half English. I'm a tadpole. Okay, that was it. Right. This is, that was about it.
That was about it.
You know,
jokes that he missed.
Sometimes I pretend I'm dumb. That's just a facade. Yes, I got the guitar here.
All right, so we will take a miracle break, and we'll have Chance Langton do some music for us.
Cried at night in search of joy for the lonesome heart of a little boy. It's true to say, life took its toll. I saw a window to her soul. The way she laughed made my day. The way she laughed and watched the children play. I always loved her better half. Everybody loved the way she laughed. She bought her clothes second hand. She danced in a dollar dress upon the sand. Her favorite friends were bingo and cigarettes. But there's something grand no one forgets. The way she laughed made my day. The way she laughed and watched the children play. Dinner on the house was not a gaffe. Everybody loved the way she laughed. She loved to drink a dry martini. She polished off a bowl of fettuccine. As years went by, we lost our mother. My sister cried, at least we have each other. I made a vow to truly honor the one and only Margaret O'Connor. The way she laughed made my day. The way she laughed and watched the children play. The words are on her epitaph. Everybody loved the way she laughed.
If you or someone you know would like to be a guest on The Boggis Hour, email us here at theboggushour@gmail.com.
The preceding program was provided by an independent producer solely responsible for its content. The opinions expressed do not necessarily represent the views of this station, its staff, board of directors, or underwriters.